here. Hi, everyone. So, yes, Femi Oguns. It's so funny. I actually thought MBE gets you into special places, and it doesn't, does it? It's weird. So, guys, thanks so much for having me here. Thank you. My journey, it's funny. It's just a combination of all this different mismatch. And it's funny, because when I was at a property convention one time, like many years ago. We're talking about 18, 19 years ago. And it's so funny because I was still living in a house association, but I just wanted to go there because I just wanted to feel as though, I was rich and whatever it was. And the woman that was speaking, she said something that really opened up my eyes. And what she said to me was, when you work for someone, that person controls every aspect of your life. And I was like, okay, carry on. What does that mean? And she says, that person decides what time you wake up, what time you go to sleep, what clothes you wear, what food you eat, how many flights you go on holiday a year, and all they want to pay you is £8.50 an hour. So that's that part of the mishmash. I went to university. Before I went to university, I went to a drama school. I'm not going to name it for obvious reasons. It'll become more apparent as we go on. But I went to drama school, and it's one of those drama schools whereby I was one of a few is myself and another black person that was in that drama school. And I just felt pretty much alone, because even for that person to hang about with me or whatever it was a statement of isolation, whereby he felt as though if we hung around together, then, our white colleagues might think there's something going on, and, we might get the roles, whatever. So I was very much by myself for the 2 years. The funny thing is, I had the luxury of having an agent at the time, so I decided to leave drama school after 2 years and do race and culture studies at university. And it's just so funny how life just presents itself but makes sense at the end of it. I never knew I would find myself in a situation where I would have created the UK's first ever black drama school at the time. And I use at the time because I've been able to successfully have a company where the intrinsic vision was to have a company where it was there without any apology for actors of colour to be able to celebrate their identity through acting. And I don't want to make no apologies about that. And I'll be honest with you, like, a lot of the problems that I had wasn't from Caucasians, whatever it was. It's from my own people, which I found was, which was a real lesson curve. It's so fun. I had a saying at the time, I have a saying now, which was, when doubters become shouters. Because the first people that would just knock me down are the first people that are just, singing my name to the high treetops. And the reason why I say that is because we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be. I believe that, we can put out our dirty laundry in the right places. I won't put it out there, even though it's going out to whatever it is. I wouldn't put it out on mainstream TV. But I just feel as though there's a lesson to learn, and the fact that we don't allow ourselves, we draw encouragement from one another and one another's successes. Because I do believe, and I'm going to go on with the story, but I do believe within our community, we see each other's successes as a reflection of what we haven't been able to achieve. And that's why we don't rise each other up. And really and truly, I just want to be a part of a community in a world whereby we take inspiration from one another and we grow. And that's the reason why so many different communities are finding themselves where they are, and we are responsible for where we are. So it's funny, it's a well-known documented fact in mainstream drama schools, there's a lack of BME presence. So in 2003, rather than join the chorus of complaints, I decided to do something about it. And that was me sacrificing my acting career at the time, which was pretty good. I didn't know who Helen Mirren was at the time, and we shared a hotel room, and don't worry, nothing naughty happened. It's just great. And I had to confess, I did find her very attractive at the time, and she is still attractive anyway, but anyway. I don't even know where I'm going with that, but she's a wonderful woman. A wonderful woman. No, we just had to stay there before we got onto another scene. Don't worry about it, it's fine. So I decided to take things into my own hands. I decided that, I have a real passion about this, and I just thought that what better medium than through acting to be able to reach out to people. I've got a real big problem with the way we are perceived out there in the world. And that's why, for me, I'm very consistent even though by no means am I perfect, but I'm very consistent with what I put out there, especially with my Twitter. So one thing I said to myself, I'm not going to treat this as some kind of like religious exchange, but I do believe that God had a massive instrumental part in my career and where I am today. So that's why when I see so many different productions that are getting so much investments from these production houses that like to show us in a very, very negative light, I can't endorse that. I'm totally against it because I feel as though we have blood on our own hands. And that's somewhat so that led me to create the drama school, because I wanted to give us a voice. I wanted us to have a positive representation. I wanted to create a safe haven for actors of colour to be able to celebrate their identity through acting. So I called it the UK's first black drama school, and it was received as that. But the overall aim, which is 15 years later where we are now, it's a drama school that reflects the community that we're in, where we have a fair share of people from the black community, Asian community, Middle Eastern and whites, because I just believe that in working in isolation, we don't achieve anything. We can just learn from one another. So in 2003, my wonderful girlfriend at the time, she decided to join me. I done it back to front. What I did, I wanted to find a space that I can run this drama school from. So I went in there, and it's the Arcola Theatre at the time, and I had to haggle and say that I worked for the Learning Trust, which was an educational body at Hackney, and I'm looking for a space that we're going to have kids, and we're going to, teach kids how to act and all that, blah, blah, blah. They then said, yes, you can have it. Then they told me how much it would cost. At the time, I used the last bit of money that I got from my acting career to put down as a deposit. And that's how I work. I do it back to front. I can't get lost in all these pie charts and all this stuff. It's just not me. And it's not to say, I mean, for other mediums, that's great, but for me, it wasn't that. So what I did, I took to the streets, and I went to all these different places that I've never been to before with my girlfriend. So one, I was on the public, one, I was on the men that were receiving the leaflets from my girlfriend to make sure that they weren't going to try and get her number. It was a very, very difficult task at the time to do both, I can tell you. And we started handing out flyers. So we went to Brixton, we went to Tottenham, we went to Croydon. I will never do that again, ever. Honestly, I don't know how people get into relationships with people from Croydon if you're not from there. Anyway, but honestly, it's so far to travel, I refuse to do it. So yeah, I went to all these different places and I handed out flyers to people. And it's so funny, because on these flyers, it would say stuff like, would you like to be taught by acting coaches that have been in EastEnders, Prime Suspect, The Bill at the time? And I was just talking about myself. So it was just going to be myself that's going to teach all these people. So I'd done it for about 7 months, going all over the place. Winter, sun, all that kind of stuff. I just done that. And it's so funny, because when it came to the, what would happen is, in 2003, there wasn't internet. Internet wasn't in people's households. It was quite a rare thing. So what I had to do was hand out the flyers. On it would say apply, but by applying, you have to ring up. They'll ring up. I'll listen to the answering machine. I'll have to listen very carefully for their address. I'll write their address down. I'll then put a paper application in there, send it to them, and wait for them to send it back. And it's so funny, I had this alias called Philip Dempsey, so I just wanted to have a different voice there. But it's so funny is that after I'd done it for 7 months, only 10 people turned up. And it's so funny, the way they looked at me, they said, I can't believe it. The same person that was in the t-shirt and jeans is now wearing a suit. And he's the principal, And, but really and truly, it's thanks to those 10 people that subscribed to my vision and what I wanted to do, that the school has now grown from 10 to 700 students at the school. And it's down to those 10 people that we've now actually opened a branch in Los Angeles, which has got 200 students there on that one. And you know what? I celebrate this round of applause. And it's not the Nigerian in me, all right? Okay? All right? I celebrate it because the fact is, in this country, we make too many apologies for our success. And I refuse to do so. Because I said to myself one time when I was sitting on a tube, sitting on a platform, waiting for the train, I looked on the floor and I saw myself perfectly positioned in one of these squares on the platform. Like the tip of my toes was within the square and the heels were within the square. And I said to myself, look at that. So, 5'8" me. Well, some of you might say 5'5", but I believe I'm 5'8". in the square, and look what I've been able to achieve. And it's not down to the gift that's within me. It's down to the fact that I realized what my calling was, and I was willing to listen to what God whispered in my ears. And what happens in this world, and what I've realized, and I knew I wasn't going to talk too much because I thought this is going to stop the questions, but this is a really nice. I was going to use the word sexy, but you can't use that when you're talking about God, so I'm going to. What I realized, okay, right, is that that's what this, these Western countries, that's what they like to do. This world that we live in, this concrete jungle, they breed on your own insecurities. And we need to celebrate the fact that we have been designed and made for an absolute purpose. God has created us for that purpose, okay? And if we realize that gift that is installed within us, we can make anything physical. And I think on that note, I'm going to stop.
Wow, I don't know where to start there because there's just so many different things. Just so many. I think that the overriding thing that strikes me is passion. I just want to first of all ask how much, actually, I guess two things: passion and faith. How much of a part has first of all passion played in the whole journey? Because when we were backstage, one of the things that you talked about a couple of times, you mentioned that the journey's not been a conventional one.
Yeah.
So how much has passion been the driver to what you've achieved and where you are at right now?
It's been at the core, it's been instrumental. It has. I mean, passion and faith come hand in hand. It was really that. It was really not allowing myself to be a slave to fear. I don't believe in it, and it's not no macho thing. It's the fact that I know that that's how this world can control us. If we allow ourselves to give into that. And that's why it's so funny, because when I saw both of you on the screen, I wanted to say, well, their smiles are just magic, wasn't they, on the screen? It's just so beautiful. I just saw the life, I saw the spirit, and I saw the thirst, I saw the hunger, but I also saw the drive and self-belief. And that's what it's about for me. And that's the reason why, what I didn't say, is that 3 years into creating the drama school, I created the UK's one of the leading acting agencies in this country. So I represent the likes of John Boyega, who's the lead in Star Wars. And I represent Letitia Wright, who played Shuri in Black Panther. We've also got another one of our girls now, who's the first ever black girl to be a Charlie's Angel, okay, right, which is going to be massive. So, but that's what I'm saying, is that that's what's beautiful, though. And that's why a lot of people say favoritism. It's not favoritism. I just want to be a part of a wider universe where we celebrate each other. The inner community and the wider community, just celebrating ourselves as being human beings. And it's thanks to people like the Johns and the Letitias who stuck by me. Because when you're black, whether it's even your own people, they're always looking out for cracks there. You understand? You've got to make sure you got everything covered. Especially, and you guys are going to laugh at this, even the fact that I'm Nigerian, okay, right? Honestly, right at the beginning in 2003, the way I had to handle that cash till, I used to do that, you see? Okay, just put your money there and step back like this or whatever it is. It's funny, it's funny, and you can laugh at it. But it's just so sad that that's what happened. But I hope that, we are showing that we are, Vic's inspiration, as well as the people in this audience. Like, I don't look down on anybody. I draw inspiration from absolutely everybody that's in the audience. So I don't know why I got into that. See, my mind's weird. That's why I always have problems in my relationships. Sorry about that.
To me, it makes just so much. Okay. It just makes so much sense. I think last question, and I know there'll be plenty more once we get into the questions from the floor. And by the way, if you're watching online here in the room, get your questions at the ready. How much of the vision was about that? It was about the scale of what you would achieve, the number of students that you would have, the base here, the base in LA, and how much of it was just about this is something that needs to be done in terms of the representation. So, in other words, how much did you have this very clear vision? This is what it's going to be. This is how big it's going to be, or was it far more? This is just what needs to be done.
For me, I believe that when you have a clear vision, that's when you really limit yourself. I knew what I was going into it for, and for me, honestly, I can't even lie. Those whispers that God just spoke to me, I knew that whatever I wanted to achieve, it would be. The same way, it's been so easy for me. Even going to LA, I was like, Brad, great, boom, I'm going to LA now. That's it, let's do this. and that's it. Within a couple of months, it's flying. It's doing whatever it was. So I don't allow myself to be limited by clear vision. I like misty vision because it means I'm going to have to fight through that.
Wonderful. Oh wow, fantastic. Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much. Right. Applause.